We are your home theater and AV questions answered. This is AVRant. Want your home theater or AV question answered by Tom and Rob? Send it to question@avrant.com. Welcome to AVRant. I'm Tom Andry, and I'm here with
Rob H.
All right, Kevin. Again, we're going to have some pictures here. Kevin has been using
Just one.
it says Pix, so you shouldn't have said. It was has been using self-powered Sony Sava SAVA 7 towers in his 14.5-foot by 21-foot living room for. Well, now every few days, one of the towers or other produces no sound, so he figures they're dying, and it's time for an upgrade. The living room is open to his kitchen, so he's dealing with about 4,900 cubic feet of air in total. He's looking to spend $500 or less on bookshelf speakers. He's willing to add a subwoofer, which would not be part of the $500 speaker budget. A subwoofer? You need those subwoofers. All right, anyways. Sony Sava, I don't ever heard of these. I don't know what they are. I don't know, but they're dying.
But they're self-powered. That's one of the things. They're self-powered.
Anyways, he already has an AV receiver if he opts for regular passive speakers, but he might prefer self-powered active monitors. The reason are that he wants a simple a setup as possible for his wife and kids, and he wants the speakers to be able to play really loud without distortion. His TV has analog outputs that are variable, so self-powered speakers could have their volume raised or lowered just using the TV's remote with no need to worry about turning on or controlling the AV receiver. And he wants to be able to crank the volume so that he can listen to music in the kitchen at full blast without any harshness. He already has an external Onkyo ED301 processor that he can use as a crossover to add a subwoofer to a pair of powered monitors. Lastly, looks are a concern. So he's put together a list of both passive and active candidates with a few thoughts of his own. He'd like us to discuss the pros and cons of a passive versus active bookshelf speaker and comment on his list of choices. Which should he buy? He should buy the EMP Teks. That's what you should buy because they play loud. But anyways, let's look at what he's saying here. Is that on there? Okay, here we go. Powered candidates. The Emotiva Aeromotive 6S. Which he says are $500 a pair. They have substantial internal amplifiers, folded ribbon tweeters, but they're big, ugly looking with no grill to hide any of that nonsense. Okay. Klipsch R15 PMs, which are also $500 a pair. Built-in subwoofer output, questionable clean high volume output. Questionable? I don't know if it's questionable. I mean, you might not like the way it sounds, but if any speaker can put out a lot of sound at ear bleed levels, Klipsch usually tops the list, so I would not. I'm with them. Monoprice 8-inch powered monitors, $200 a pair, which is his budget option. Out of the three of those right there, I'm guessing that's the one that's not going to do the trick for you. I don't know that much about the Emotiva ones, but those Klipsch,
they're also big.
The monoprices are.
Those monoprices are bigger than you would think.
Well, that's usually the case. Okay, so I don't know much about the Emotivas, but the Klipsch certainly should be able to put out the output that you're looking for. Passive candidates, the ELAC Unify UB5, which are bookshelf speakers for $500 a pair. He says are highly acclaimed for the price, which most brand new speakers that are hotly anticipated usually do start off highly acclaimed for the price, and then slowly things change. But maybe anyways, they're not ugly, but they're not very pretty according to him. The ELAC Debut B6 is a budget option. These are all passive ones again. The EMP Tek R5Bi, which is another budget option. He does not say they are gorgeous because they probably are if they're the ones I'm thinking of. So that should
they're the best looking out of these.
That should be on. And the Martin Logan LX16, which is $480 a pair, and it's a folded ribbon tweeter. So we're supposed to discuss passive versus active. And then he says he wants to make things as easy as possible, so that's why he wants active.
Yeah, because then he doesn't have to have an AV receiver. He can literally just plug them from the TV's output straight into the speakers. The TV can control the volume because it's a variable RCA output. Yeah. And that would be very simple. You know, the powered monitors would just be left on all the time, and then they essentially become the TV's speakers. No muss, no fuss.
Don't necessarily buy into that because AV receivers these days, you can, basically if he's only got one output anyways, you can set it so that when you press on, it turns on the TV and it controls the TV. And this, all you're doing is handing them a different remote. basically.
Well, I mean, this could be a case for, as much as I usually always recommend turning it off, for HDMI CEC.
That's true. Yeah.
Because HDMI CEC would allow you, when you hit the TV's power button, it automatically powers on the AV receiver, turns it to the correct input, and now the volume controls the AV receiver. You can do all that with HDMI CEC. Yeah. But I mean, you might notice I didn't really comment on any of these options, and you might have expected me to, but that's because when he first mentioned this question, I immediately thought of an option. They're $300 a pair, and those are JBL's LSR305 speakers, which are probably, those are self-powered monitors. Okay. And they're probably the best sounding speakers you can get for this sort of price range. They're really good, and they can play really loud without sounding harsh. And because they're actually made by JBL Pro, a company that knows what they're doing, you can turn them up darn loud without them blowing themselves up, because they're like, hey, we actually know what the amplifier and driver limits are in these speakers. Maybe we'll put in just the tiniest bit of a filter to protect them, which a lot of other companies magically don't seem to be able to do. So those are a solid, basically, those are what I would go for. Now, you might not like the looks of them. I was going to say,
they're kind of ugly.
Well, I don't know. I mean, I think they're kind of cool looking, but not everybody will.
No, I don't think they're kind of cool looking at all.
I mean, I'll have the link for those over at avrant.com, so or you can just Google search for them, the JBL LSR305s, to have a look, because if you don't mind the looks, to me, those are the price performance, choice here. And they're the active monitors, so you can do whatever you want with them.
That's true. If you're going to go passive, I like the EMP Teks because they're pretty, and they will give you all the performance. Plus, they sound good. They will give you all the performance that I think you need or you want.
Well, there you go. We narrowed it down to 2 for them. So
I mean, I'm not saying that any of the rest of these speakers are bad. I don't know anything about the Martin Logans. I have not heard the Emotivas. I don't think the mono price are going to hold up. The ELACs are probably fine, but yeah.
Yeah, but loud, that's not their thing. Getting really loud with those ELACs is not really their forte.
Yeah, and
so
I don't know. I don't know that I would.
Yeah, no, we narrowed it down to 2 choices.
I don't know that I would let the adding of a receiver or whatever. I don't know if that would slow you down.
No, at that point, I'd kind of let looks decide, and I'll bet he likes the looks of the EMP.
He didn't even mention that, so maybe he doesn't. Maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's
that's true.
He says whatever. And they are the cheapest of the entire bunch, which means
that's true.
You could buy yourself a whatever. I don't know. Buy yourself a 2-channel amplifier, like a real cheap 2-channel amplifier, and then once again you're right back to where you want to be. They're basically self-powered.
If his existing receiver doesn't have HDMI CEC, he could buy a new one that does.
That's right. For that price, you could.
Yeah.
All right. Want your question answered? Send it to question@avrant.com. This is AVRant.
Now go out and listen to something.